everyone. Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
It's nice to see you, Sam. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was so good. I did so much shopping. I basically have a whole new closet of clothes, and I'm super excited.
How did you afford to buy so many clothes, to get a whole new wardrobe?
Well, I went to one of those, a few different places that are kind of known for fast fashion, so they're not that expensive, and so I could buy a whole bunch.
Sam, don't you remember the articles we did about fast fashion? How it's a lot of people in poor third world countries who make it, get paid very little.
Oh, I wasn't on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff about that. You should maybe learn a little bit more and then make maybe slightly better or different decisions about where you buy, how you buy, and what you buy, because where this stuff is made, how it's made, and who makes it is a very important thing to think about.
I never even really think about that. There's got to be other stuff that I also don't think about.
Exactly. This is actually a good time for that because we're not talking about fast fashion today, and tomorrow we're talking about chocolate.
Chocolate?
Yeah, everyone's favorite snack and sweet and dessert, but, and this was news to me too, chocolate also comes from places in the world, and it's prepared and picked by people in the world that we might not think about or know about. And once you do learn about where our chocolate comes from, you might also want to make some different decisions about buying that sweet treat. So let's find out in our article that tells you a little bit in the title, Child Labor in Cocoa. Kids making chocolate?
Oh my gosh.
Let's check it out.
Chocolate is a popular treat, and it comes from the cocoa bean. About 70% of the world's cocoa beans come from Ghana and Ivory Coast. They have the perfect climate for growing cocoa.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into kind of the history of where chocolate actually kind of comes from. Yeah. And we see in our title of our reading, it says, Child Labor in Cocoa, Part 1. So we can kind of start to see that there might not be a very good story behind where our actual chocolate comes from.
No, child labor, those aren't words you like to see together.
Those should not be together.
Not in the modern world. No.
And so we've got this labor used as a noun here, child labor. It means the workforce or the workers. So this title of this article basically is saying that there are children working to collect the chocolate and all this kind of stuff. And so not something that you want to see. And so this is not going to be the most exciting or happy topic, but it's going to be a very important topic. Sure. And so let's go ahead and jump right into our reading with chocolate is a popular treat, and it comes from the cocoa bean. So at least in the beginning, we can get a little history that's not too bad yet.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, everyone knows what chocolate is. It's that usually brown stuff that we use to cook with, bake with, eat it on its own as a snack. We use it to flavor things like cakes and ice cream. It's basically made from cocoa beans and milk usually and sugar, and put all that together and you get chocolate. But the main thing to get that special taste is the cocoa bean, and that's the stuff that child labor or child workers are involved in collecting just to make that chocolate bar, or those chocolates, or that chocolate that flavors the food that you like to have as a nice treat.
Yes, and so we have this word treat used as a noun, or it is a noun. So in this sentence, we have a chocolate treat. And so a treat is something that is kind of like a special thing that you can, in this case, eat. It's not always something that you can eat, but it's like usually it's a treat, is something that you eat. And you can kind of also think of this if you have a pet. A lot of times if you've got a pet, then they have their regular food that you feed them every day, but on special occasions, or if you ask them to sit or do some kind of trick, you might give them a treat. So it's a special type of food that is not necessarily something you eat every day, and it might be kind of sugary, it might be something that's not also healthy to eat every day, but it's a treat. You get something special just in special occasions.
Yeah, kind of like a snack, but as you say, maybe a not healthy snack, the kind of thing you really shouldn't have too much, but you're like, I worked hard today, I was really good, I'm gonna have a little treat. And that treat might come from the cocoa bean in the form of chocolate, but yeah, the original thing is the cocoa bean. It actually grows inside a pod, kind of like a big fruit on a tree.
Like
I believe, right? The pods are about that big. You open them up, there's little white beans inside. That's the cocoa bean. If you bit into it, it wouldn't be sweet. It would be like that really dark chocolate, kind of bitter, but it would have that special chocolate flavor. Beans, of course, come in many other shapes and sizes. Green beans, red beans, black beans, lima beans, pinto beans, garbanzo beans, all sorts of beans. They grow on plants. We use them to cook with. They're actually quite healthy, most beans, right? If you're not eating meat, you can get a lot of good healthy stuff from a bean. And in this case, we're talking about cocoa beans. Notice the spelling of cocoa. It's not cocoa. It's cocoa beans. That's where chocolate comes from. And where do cocoa beans come from?
Well, we're about to find out. If we look at the reading, we have about 70% of the world's cocoa beans come from Ghana and Ivory Coast.
2 countries.
Yes, so 70% from only 2 countries.
Really?
They have the perfect climate for growing cocoa.
Of course, it's warm, it's wet. Cocoa originally, of course, comes from Central America, right? The Aztecs and the Mayans used to enjoy cocoa long before white people, Europeans, got there. But now they moved a lot of the growing over to Africa. It's near Europe. There's much more land there. But the climate is about the same. When we talk about climate, it's kind of like environment. It's kind of like weather. We're talking about the weather over long periods of time. If you look at the whole year with the seasons and how the temperature goes up in the summer and down in the winter, they have more rain here and less rain during the spring or whatever. That's the climate. So basically the year-round temperature situation in Africa is really good for cocoa. The climate in Taiwan is good for tea. Right? I think even Chinese people might say, oh, some of the best tea comes from Taiwan because we have mountains, we have the weather, we have the climate. It's all great. So there you go. They're farming cocoa in West Africa. Good climate, but children? Children doing this? Shouldn't they be in school? Many questions for a big problem. Let's take a break.
Making cocoa needs a lot of work. It also needs lots of workers. Over 2 million of them in Ghana and Ivory Coast are children between the ages of 5 and 17. The children work long, hard hours, use dangerous tools, and carry heavy loads. They also live in terrible conditions and get little to no money.
Okay, so we've kind of got this beginning of our story, and we've got a little bit about where the cocoa beans come from and all of this kind of stuff, but we haven't gotten to the actual child labor part yet.
Okay.
So let's see if we continue our reading. Are we going to get to that yet, or if that's coming up later? So our reading goes, making cocoa needs a lot of work. It also needs lots of workers. Over 2 million of them in Ghana and Ivory Coast are children between the ages of 5 and 17. 5.
2 million?
2 million.
2 million workers is a lot making cocoa, but when 2 million of them are children and they're as young as 5?
Oh my gosh.
5? That's kindergarten age or grade 1. Up until 17. So as you can see, not only are these children not in school, they're working. And this is farm work, by the way.
Yes.
They're not sitting in a factory, with air conditioning, working at tables. They're out in a hot field in the middle of Africa, at all times of the year picking cocoa beans. And it says the children work long, hard hours, like farmers do, use dangerous tools, like farmers do, and carry heavy loads, like farmers have a machine for. But these are kids, and they're doing it, and some of them are as old as 5. And of course, if they're kids, can they ask for more money? No. If they get hurt, will anyone really care? Probably not. You know, kids don't have a lot of power to kind of say, hey, boss, we need better tools, we need more money. So it's really, really a dangerous situation for these kids to be stuck in. And of course, never mind, they should be safe at school, learning, not working for anyone, especially not doing difficult, hard, dangerous work with tools and things like that. What is a tool? It's a piece of equipment you use to do a job. Generally, when we think of tools, we think of the kinds of things you use to build things. Hammers, saws, drills, stuff like that. But hey, if you're a chef, your tools might be your kitchen knives. If you're a musician, your tool might be your violin. And of course, a dentist would have special tools to fix your teeth and look in your mouth and stuff like that.
Drill their teeth. Ooh,
that's right. Things that you use to do a job, those are your tools. Special little handheld machines often, or devices, implements that you use to do a job. And if you're carrying a heavy load, a useful tool might be a horse or a truck.
Yeah, or a tractor, or just something
and not
to
a
help
child with
carry.
a bag on its back.
That's what is so crazy. So they say that they're carrying these heavy loads, and so this load as a noun, it is the kind of product that you are carrying to wherever, to the factory, to the truck, to the boat, or whatever. But this load could be in our case, we've got probably a bag full of beans or a bucket full of beans, and they're carrying it. They might be carrying it on their shoulder. They might be carrying it just in their hands or like this. And so this load is very heavy. The products that they are holding for their work is very heavy. So that would be their load.
Exactly.
And again, I can barely imagine it. It's just like a 5-year-old trying to carry this giant sack of beans or whatever.
It's something we might read about in history books where kids used to work down in mines or work with early machines hundreds of years ago, but they would get hurt and they would get, injured or killed, and of course laws were passed, and now that's not allowed. You can't be a child and work. You have to go to school in almost every country. But in some of the poorer countries, it's harder than that. And then it says not only about their work being difficult and dangerous, they also live in terrible conditions and get little to no money. I don't think these kids are going home to see mom at the end of the day. They're probably living in basically a farm building, a factory company building, not being treated like children in any way.
Yeah,
really.
And so sometimes they could be calling these types of things like a work camp, where it's like, okay, all the workers might live in the same area together. And then they go out to work and they come back and they live in that same area.
And for adult farm workers, that might be normal.
Yeah, and it might not be too bad if the conditions are not too bad. And so they talk about conditions here as a noun, the condition of the place that they live, meaning the environment, the situation, or how nice it is. That would be the condition. And so if it is in good condition, then they might have running water, it's clean, they've got
safe.
Yeah, it's safe, they've got heat and blankets and all this kind of stuff. That might be in good condition. If it's in poor condition or bad condition, maybe the house is falling down.
Rain comes in when it rains, it's cold at night.
Maybe they sleep on the ground.
They sleep on the ground, probably the food they get isn't good. No one's really taking care of them. So their conditions are good, and of course the children will be in bad condition too. My gosh, what a big problem. I'm suddenly thinking very carefully now about what chocolate I buy, where it comes from, things like that. Because out in the world of chocolate, like in the world of fast fashion, it's not just about cheapest is best. There's a lot more to it than that. We're going to find out more tomorrow, so please do come back and join us for this very difficult but important topic.
Chocolate is a popular treat, and it comes from the cocoa bean. About 70% of the world's cocoa beans come from Ghana and Ivory Coast. They have the perfect climate for growing cocoa. Making cocoa needs a lot of work. It also needs lots of workers. Over 2 million of them in Ghana and Ivory Coast are children between the ages of 5 and 17. The children work long, hard hours, use dangerous tools, and carry heavy loads. They also live in terrible conditions and get little to no money.
Hi， 大家好，我是 Stephanie。那我们今天一起来看单字。第一个单字呢是 chocolate， 名词巧克力。Chocolate is often given as a gift on Valentine's Day。巧克力在情人节常作为礼物送人。第二个单字呢是名词 bean， 豆子。Candy always picks out the beans from her salad。Candy 总是从她的沙拉里挑出豆子。第三个单字呢是 climate， 名词气候。What I love about this country is its climate。我喜欢这个国家的气候。最后一个单字呢是 tool， 名词工具。My dad has a set of tools for home repair。我爸爸有一套居家修缮的工具。好，那我们一起来看今天的文法。第一个文法呢是 the perfect A for B， 最适合 B 的 A。Perfect 是形容词，完美的，最恰当的。College is the perfect time for romance。大学是最适合谈恋爱的时间。第二个文法呢是 between the ages of 5 and 17， 年龄介于5到17岁。Between A and B 表示在 A 与 B 之间。The age of number 是几岁的年纪，像是 The users of this app are between the ages of 35 and 45。这个应用程式的使用者年龄介于35至45岁之间。如果说 at the age of 指的是在某个年纪的时候，那 under the age of 就是在某个年纪以下的意思，像是 In Taiwan, it is illegal to drink alcohol under the age of 18. 在台湾，未满18岁饮酒是违法的。句子里面的 illegal 是形容词，非法的。Alcohol 呢，就是名词，含酒精的饮料。最后一个文法呢是 little to no， 很少的，几乎没有的。Jacob is always busy in the morning. He has little to no time for breakfast.Jacob 早上总是很忙，他几乎没有时间吃早餐。好，那这就是今天的讲解。See you!
The Beihai Tunnel was built during the 1970s to protect ships. The tunnel was completely dug out by hand. It took 820 days for workers to complete the tunnel. The tunnel is 18 meters high, 10 meters wide, and 640 meters long. Over 100 boats can hide in the tunnel. Visitors can walk on the path that goes around the tunnel. The path can only be used during low tide. Beihai Tunnel is also one of the best places to see Matsu's blue tears. Visiting Beihai Tunnel is a must on Matsu.
See you next time!